What does it take to get beyond the damage of words? I'm Katrina Collier. Join me each week as I explore what it takes to step into a happier future. My guests are sharing their stories of when they realised that they needed help and what it took to take that first step, so that you leave inspired and maybe even start on your own path to self-love, care, compassion, and of course happiness. So without further ado, let's hear their stories. Isobel Gatherer, welcome to Beyond the Damage of Words podcast. I am so excited to talk to you because we've been working together for over 2 years, and actually I know very little of your backstory, which is shocking.
I know. Well, you're not meant to, are you, when we're working together? It's your time.
But you're adorable. You're adorable, and I want to know. By the way, anybody work with Isobel, they have been the most incredible 2 years of my life. So thank you for everything you do. So what led you into healing? What started the process? What was the great realization?
Well, I needed it. I realised that when I was, there've been incidences through my life, especially when I was older and I had my own children. Things kept happening to me, and I thought, oh God, all I need is somebody just to sit and listen to me. That's all I need. That's all I wanted. Just listen to me. Let me get it out. Let me talk about it. And I was going through a pretty rough time back in the 90s with the 3 young children, single mum, and in a relationship with my twin flame, which, as you know, can be quite, yeah. So, and I was also working for an organisation, and I was being bullied at work. So it was all coming to a massive, like a big boil ready to burst. And that's the first time I ever went for counselling. And the first counsellor I worked with basically went straight in as, you were adopted. It's something to do with you being adopted. I'm like, no. It's nothing to do with me being adopted. But actually, when you look back, it is. So he opened me up, then went off sick. I was like, what now?
Oh, whoa. Oh my gosh.
And then luckily that my little angel Patrick came along, and Patrick helped me over 6 weeks. So that was the start of it, but that was a long time ago.
So hang on, your little angel Patrick is an angel or another counsellor angel?
Earth angel Patrick. Okay. He was a social worker, and he was amazing, and he helped me so much. But then that was it for goodness knows how many years. And then I started again about 10 years ago on the healing journey.
Wow.
Life got in the way. It was almost like it was a quick fix, you know? And then
so it gave you enough skills for you to be able to go, okay, I can get on with all of these things I've got going on, which is a lot. And you just sort of, I bet that happens to a lot of mums as well, because it's very hard to focus on yourself, though you need it.
Yeah. I remember going to, before that had happened, I got postnatal depression when I had the twins, and I'd gone to some group that, Katrina, I've had it all. Some group that was being run by some social workers, and I ended up counselling the other women in the group, and I thought, you're just taking on more stuff, typical empath, right? So I didn't go, and she phoned me up and said, why haven't you come? And I said, because I'm helping everybody else and nobody's helping me. And she said some words on that phone that resonated with me for the rest of my life. You need to heal, because it's like a wound that you've put a plaster over, and it's festering. And I thought, those words stuck with me for a very long time. And it's so true. You have to take the plaster off. You have to do the mucking out, clearing all the dirt out, and it heals, doesn't it?
To be fair, it's more than a plaster, isn't it? You're throwing plaster upon plaster and layers. It's always a digging journey, isn't it, to get to the wound, which is then always so much smaller than you expect it to be.
Yeah, it's the gunk around it, isn't it, that needs to, you need to clear that. So there's been little stepping stones along the way. And then when I moved here, I did lots and lots of healing when I moved into this house, because it's a perfect place to, Wi-Fi might not be very good, but it's a perfect place to do the healing.
We're very lucky we're using Zencastr, all will be well. But you said it was 10 years ago that you first started healing the deep stuff. What was that? What did you do at that point to start going, okay?
What did I do? Oh, it was it's coming up for 10 years. So it was when, I'd almost crumbled to the bottom. There was no way else to go. I was on the bottom. I'd gone through a really bad, awful divorce. In fact, it was less than 10 years ago, but it's 9 years ago. And I was on a
Yeah.
really, oh, it was awful. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And it was then that you're at the lowest ebb and there's only one way you can go, and that's up. And 2016, when I actually eventually moved out of my old home and went on the road for a few years. I don't think I knew you then, but I
Mm.
lived in a motorhome and travelled around a lot. And I walked.
Oh,
I
amazing.
walked and I walked and I walked. And that's when the healing started to happen, because I was me and the dog and out in the countryside or on the beach or wherever, but it was always somewhere that was kind and gentle and nurturing and supporting.
Mm.
And I just walked and I processed and I let it all
Yeah.
come up and more come up and more come up. And there was nobody there. Nobody knew me. There was people on the campsites I stayed on, but nobody knew me. And so it gave me that space that I needed to work on what was down there, right? So I didn't get
Yeah.
it all cleared then, but that was a big part of it. That's what started it truly off. And that was
We
self-healing.
did.
I did it
Do
so
we
I did
dare
it on my
ask what
own.
was down there, or
Sorry?
what did you find? What did you find when you
Oh,
were
what did I
doing that
find?
healing?
Well, that's when a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in a minute came up. It was a
Yeah.
lot that's been going on for years. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I was brought up in the 60s and you didn't talk
Mhm.
about things then. You put a stiff upper lip, got on with it, be stoic, carry on. Everything just push it down, carry on. And the thing that came up was the grief of losing my dad when I was 9. And
Mm.
I wasn't encouraged to talk about it when I was little. There was no bereavement counselling when I was little, when we were little at that age. We just had to
Mm.
get on with it. And my mum, bless her heart, her way of dealing with it was just to carry on. I went to school. The day after he died, I was back at school as if nothing had happened.
Oh my word.
And then my mum died when I was 17, and I did the same. She died on the Saturday, and I went back to work on the Monday. You can imagine the conversation. So, what did you do at the weekend? Can you imagine?
Well, buried my mum and then I went back to work. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. But then
that's
that
how we
was
were
the
brought
role
up.
model. Yeah. I don't know why there's generational trauma going on here. Really, I don't. Oh, it's God.
And so,
I mean, look, the whole reason I've written the memoir, as you know, because you've been my birthing partner. By the way, anybody listening, Isabel is a massive part of the reason that this memoir will become an actual memoir.
yeah,
So thank you for that.
you're
But
welcome.
yeah, all of this suppression and all of this pushing down, it's just so unhealthy, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's gonna come up
Gosh,
sometime, and it used to come up a lot if I drank a lot, because I used to drink a lot of alcohol. God, and it used to come
numbing.
through, and I used to have a
Yeah.
blowout nearly once every 6 months. I had a massive blowout, and you can almost imagine people running for cover because it all got too much and it all came up. And what I've learned over the last few years is you don't let it get to that stage. You talk about it. Even if you're talking to yourself, you talk about it and let it
Mm,
come through so that it doesn't
mm,
build up. It's moving, it's shifting the whole
yeah.
time. And as it
This
shifts, you
is what you
can
were
do
doing
the
on
work.
those walks. When you were walking, you I assume you were talking, even
Yeah.
internally, even if it wasn't out loud, just letting it, yeah.
Oh, it was always out
I do
loud,
that.
Katrina. I always talk to myself. Clairaudient, you see, so I'm always talking to myself.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I really relate to that. I have amazing inner dialogue. It's like the conversation's two-way. It's never just it's yeah. I think
Sort
it's
your
one of the
problems
joys of
out,
being
though, don't you, when
clairaudient.
you're doing it that way? You get all your problems sorted out.
Totally. And I have little like, conversations with myself like, why are you thinking about that? That's really not helping you in the slightest. It's not gonna, and then a light bulb goes off and yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It
Oh, I'm
definitely
always,
helps.
"Yes, all right, I know. Yes, I will do that. Yes, yes." And anybody
Yes,
hearing
yes.
me must think,
Okay.
"Bonkers." Totally bonkers.
It's kind of crazy though, because we're all born with our clair senses open. But because of the schooling system locking us down and making us all logical,
Yeah,
then we sound crazy. Whereas we know actually all we've done is reopened or become reaware of the gifts we already had,
yeah,
which is,
exactly.
yeah, thank
Yeah.
goodness though. Does explain my crazy inner dialogue. Anyway, back to you. So you're,
Yeah,
you're, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you're at school. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I can't even imagine what that was like.
Well, it was
So
horrific
what
because I
happened?
also
Was
had the
this
most awful teacher at the time. So my dad, I was
yeah, I was
9
just
when
gonna
my dad
say, was
died.
the school supportive? No.
Nope. Absolutely. Absolutely not. And I think this is, the beyond the damage of words. I think this is where the
Yeah.
damage really happened. Yes, there was difficulty with the fact we didn't talk about my dad passing, and I wasn't
Mm.
prepared for it. They hadn't told me about it. It just happened, even though they knew he was very poorly. That was just how they
Oh
did
my
it in those
gosh.
days. But it was a school. I was in I can't remember how old. Well, I was 9, so I don't know what year I was in. But I was in primary school. Well, we called it middle school in those days. And I had a teacher called Mr. White. And I don't care if he hears this. I don't care if anybody who knows him hears this. It really doesn't matter because he was not a very nice
Not
teacher at all. He
right.
was horrible. I
Mm.
would say he's probably in his 80s now, so he probably was about 20 something. But he was a real bully. He had a class full of obviously boys and girls, all around the same age, 9, and his every day. And we had
Mm.
him in those days. We had just that teacher for every subject. Couldn't get away from
Yeah.
him. Every day he would get the plimsoll out and he would line us up for one reason or another, get us to bend down and then smack us with a plimsoll. Bearing in mind, girls wore dresses in those days.
Right.
I'm
So for
just,
the
it was
non-Brits,
just
what's the
awful.
plimsoll?
And he'd go out the
As well,
classroom and he'd
sorry.
say, "Is anybody talking? Oh, can you hear me?" He'd go out the
Yeah, no,
classroom and,
I was just asking what's a plimsoll for those that aren't British.
oh, it's a pump, like like a trainer, but they were little black ones.
Oh,
Remember?
okay,
Yeah,
got you.
we
Wouldn't
called them
know
pumps
because I didn't
actually,
grow
but
up here.
no, black
Okay.
horrible things
So
that you wore for
so
peeing,
so
basically,
he would line you up and, like, what, make up excuses almost to hit you.
every day,
Gosh.
every day. So he'd go out of the class and he'd come back in and he'd go, and obviously we were children. You talked when the teacher had gone out of the class. So he'd come back in. Who's been talking? So you put your hand up because you knew you'd get caught out anyway. And right out at the front of the class, we all lined up, and it was the waiting. I know you've talked about this before. It was the
Yes.
waiting for the inevitable to happen. So we knew what he was doing. You were glad when yours had happened because you could go and sit down. He did hurt anyway. And then you learnt, right? So you learnt, okay, so he's going out. We're not going to talk because he used to hide around the corner. You knew you were talking. So you come in. Who's been talking? And nobody had been talking. Well, somebody must have been talking, and nobody had. So he'd get the weakest child out of the class and he'd stand that child up at the front and he'd say, right, unless you own up to talking, Ian is going to get a smack for every single one of you in this class.
Oh my
And so,
gosh.
because you didn't want that to happen to that poor child who was basically shaking, we all put a hand up, even though we hadn't been talking. And he got his own way again and smacked us. Horrific.
Crazy.
And so you get
So
punished for talking, and then they'd say, "Stand up now and do your 10 times tables," or "Stand up and I want to hear your spelling test." And you're like, you're telling us to shut up, you're punishing us for talking, and then you're asking us to stand up and talk in class.
my gosh.
Unbelievable.
And I
Unbelievable.
assume that also if it was like my household, I couldn't
You
because
didn't
ironically
tell
my
me.
father was a teacher, as you know, and not just in this lifetime as well. Oh, um, but the fact that I couldn't go home and say anything because I wasn't believed, I assume you had a similar, like the
Well,
other
I wouldn't
teachers.
have done it because of what Mum was going through already, because I could feel that she was going through what she
Oh,
was going through. So you
oh,
didn't want to bring, again, and also being adopted, you want to be the good girl. Never wanted to get in
oh,
trouble because I didn't. You've got that abandonment thing going on, even though you don't know you have. And so I tried not to bring trouble to the door. I was only ever smacked once by my parents. My mum smacked me once for breaking the camera, and it broke my heart because I was so wanted to be a good girl.
yeah.
I impaled myself on railings once, right? I managed to get myself off the railing. I had a hole in my tummy, but I didn't tell my mum because I didn't want her to be cross with me.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's a whole other layer of like, is it, I don't know what it is. It's not emotional abuse. Is it neglect? I don't know what it is.
It's
Anyway,
not
an emotional
neglect.
trauma.
It's
So
not
what
neglect. She
happened?
didn't neglect me.
yeah, so it's not neglect, but it's still an emotion
Yeah,
trauma, isn't it?
yeah.
So you buried it and buried it and buried it. How did it surface? How did you go, enough, I have to go and work on this?
It was only a few weeks ago. It was when I'd done the healing around what had happened around me leaving my ex-husband and losing
Yeah,
everything. That was massive. That was grief again. And it was when I
yeah,
came here and everything
yeah.
just surfaced. I was working with my daughter's a shaman, and she was running a group out in Australia, and it was online. And
Mm.
I joined it, and she started talking about vulnerability. And then all of a sudden, I thought, no, I can't be vulnerable. I can't be vulnerable. How can I be strong if I'm vulnerable? But the vulnerability was the place, because the vulnerability was where I accessed all of this. And it was my
Vulnerability is the
daughter.
best
And they
part.
do say your children help you, don't they?
Mm.
Yeah. And then
That's
everything came up.
amazing.
It was very messy.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah,
messy.
but it is this crazy thing, this fear of being vulnerable, but vulnerability is actually the strength, and everybody loves it when you're vulnerable. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. You're so vulnerable." It's like, okay. It's
I
like, yeah,
know.
it's crazy. I think we will become more vulnerable and more comfortable with vulnerability as we heal what's
Yeah,
coming up already. So
yeah.
did you talk to someone specifically, or was it just the opening of all your spirituality? Was it the working
Well, the
with your daughter? Like, what
spirituality
was it?
started it off as well, because obviously I could see what was going. I could see the miracles. I started to trust in myself. I started to believe in the angels, and miracles happened.
Mm.
Um, so that was a massive catalyst as well.
So
And
no
when I started,
professionals per se.
no, I did it
No.
myself.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I did it myself. It was messy, you know, it was snotty and messy and
Mm.
yuck, and I wouldn't, but I'm glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it. And now I don't let anything get
Mm.
in there. I don't let anything come to that stage. I don't bury it. If something
Yeah,
comes up, something happens, I vocalize it. I let it out. I shift it out of my body. I move it. I don't want it to get stuck there, because I never want to go back and have to do the same
yeah.
thing again. So rather than going, I'm gonna, gulp that down and put my head up high and
Bottle.
walk off. No, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
and it's not always vocalize it to the person who's upset me, because sometimes that doesn't
Mm.
work. It's just not allowing it
Mm.
to sit. It's not allowing it to stay. It's allowing it
So
to be there so I can see what's triggered me. Why am I
right.
feeling this way about this? What that person's just said to me, why has it made me feel like this way? And then I can
Mm.
do some work around that, but I won't hold on to it, because it becomes bitter. It becomes
So
stagnant, and I don't want that.
how do you not hold on to it? Like, how do
I
you
walk,
so
do a lot of
so,
walking.
I mean, I don't know that you know this one, but I had an altercation with the owner of the dog that's never on the lead, that has attacked my dog
No, I didn't know
on
that.
Saturday.
Oh, no.
Saturday? Yeah, yeah. I just said to her, perhaps if she was gonna keep her dog off the lead, that perhaps she should keep her eyes on it. And I would have delivered it in quite a contemptuous tone. So it is like I'm hanging on to it, even though I can see everything that she said after that told me how much she hates herself. It was brilliant, like in that respect of, because I've done all this work, but
Yeah.
it kind of eats at you, right?
Yeah,
It's
it
like I'm
does.
now concerned I'm going to run into her again because I know the dog's not going to be on the lead, and now she and I are being rude to each other, right? It's like, so how do you, when things like that happen, go and let it?
I've had a few of those lately, actually, not with dogs, but I've had a few in altercations with Tesco men and bully boy men, and I'm like, "What? Why am I?"
People that
And they,
don't
and
like
they've all,
boundaries.
yeah, and they've all said, "Why are
People
you
that don't like
shouting at me?"
self-respect. Oh my
So I
gosh.
look at it and
I
I'm
now
going,
wanna know. Yep.
I look at it and go, "What is this all about? Why am I
Yeah.
feeling like this? Why is this happening to me?" And then if I can't process
Yeah.
it, like this, I'll process it through journaling until I get to the core of what it is. And usually there's something inside of you that you still need to shift, right? For it to, because
Yeah.
they are a catalyst. What's just happened is a
Yeah, yeah.
catalyst. How you behaved was the result of that. So go in, what is still there that you need to work on? And then just let
Mm.
whatever, then you say, "Thank you, Mr. Tesco man who called me a twat."
Yeah. Really?
At
I
Christmas,
hope he
when
means the
Christmas
Dawn
happened.
French version, not the other version.
Thank you for showing me that, because that is a lesson I needed
Yeah.
to learn. And then if I
Gotcha.
think about him,
Yeah.
instead of feeling like, I turn it around and go, "You were obviously having a
Mm.
bad day. It was Christmas,
Yes.
you were busy. You wanted me to
Yeah.
reverse 5 miles down the road, and, like, you only had to reverse 5 feet. That's why I was so
Yeah.
strong." Oh, dear.
Yeah.
We've had a few of those
No,
lately.
that's yeah, but I think that's really like, because that's super, super useful. And also because sometimes it is actually something that we have to learn, and sometimes it is just something projected, and it's great to be able to see. I quite liked being able to see because I feel like there might be more of this in the future when the memoir comes out,
Yeah,
of more people that just don't get it, projecting, and
yeah.
me just going, "Ah." But I quite like having all the little stories because then I can teach other people
Sometimes it's a
with
lesson that
it.
we need to learn, and sometimes it's their
Yeah,
lesson, right?
yeah, exactly. Mm,
We always think, "Oh, it's our responsibility," and often it is, but sometimes it's them
mm,
having a really bad day, and how we respond
yeah,
is what they needed to hear for them
yeah,
to work. But whether they do the work is another matter. But that's not up to us, is it? But,
it's true.
yeah, it's interesting.
With
It is
your
interesting how these things
When you're
happen.
in the middle of your doing the self work, when did you open up spiritually? When did you realize that you had the divine with you, angels with you, and all, I mean, all the incredible work that we've done, which has been off the charts crazy at sometimes.
I'll never find another you, Katrina. Um, originally
We've been
2000,
traveling
well,
all around the planet and doing all sorts of amazing
get 'em off.
healing and detangling me from karmic bonds and healing past lives. What haven't we done? We've done it all.
It's been amazing. It's been
It has
absolutely
been.
amazing. Life's quite boring now without our
The
weekly session.
shift Oh, I'm so sorry. The shift in me, though, in those 2 years is just extraordinary. I think that's where I really gained that self-mastery, even though I have altercations with useless dog owners. Um,
Yeah,
the that self-mastery really came from our work together, so
yeah.
I'm so grateful. And also
Mm,
that feeling of that I won't ever have another life with my narcissistic mother. That's also been quite liberating. But anyway,
yeah,
this is meant to be about you, not me.
I know.
I just want to thank you as often as possible.
Get me off again.
Thank Michelle for
What did you
starting
ask
me
me?
off
I
and
can't
you
remember
for
what you asked.
completing it.
What did you ask
What did
me?
I ask you? Oh, so when did your spiritual gifts
Oh,
open? When did
yes.
you realize that you could see all this stuff that other people cannot see? Because you do
Well,
see,
when I
don't
was
you? Because you're
little, I
clairaudient
could.
and clairvoyant.
Yeah,
Sorry?
clairaudient. I'm clairaudient, clairsentient, and clairvoyant. Well, we've got them all, but they're the main
Oh,
three.
wow.
Clairaudient being the main one. So I've always been clairaudient. I've always talked to myself.
Mm,
So that
yeah.
was always there. Um, Clairvoyance, more so when I was a little girl, I can clearly remember the day that I closed it down, and that was my dad again. He came back 2 days after he died and was waiting outside my bedroom door because we never got a chance to say goodbye. And I think that's freaked me out and closed me down, or I closed myself down clairvoyantly, but it's back. Um,
Mhm.
and then, and in my teens, very much so, very aware in my teens. But then I got married to Rob, he was in the Royal Navy. So I moved down to Gosport, and it all became very masculine led then, and everything got
Oh,
popped.
yes.
All of
There's
that got
heavy
popped.
energy there.
Heavy energy, yeah.
Very
Then obviously I
yeah,
had the
masculine
children, so I
armies.
was a mum and doing all the mum stuff, and you didn't have much time for anything else. And then it started to creep in the 90s. So I had a reading in 1994, and this lady was incredible. But she said to me, "You've got a guardian angel." And I thought, I've never heard of that before. And then she started talking to me about,
Wow.
I know. And she didn't say you can work with them. She didn't say this is how you work with them. She just said you've
Something
got a guardian
useful.
angel looking after you. And I'm like, oh. And then she told me that my dad was looking after me, and that was lovely. But it was like, really? Wow. But then I didn't carry it on. I saw her a couple of
Yeah,
times
then
for
you
another
think,
reason.
I don't really want him watching everything I'm up to.
I know. I know. You have to
I
be a
remember
bit
when Monica brought
off.
my, maternal when Monica brought my maternal grandfather through, and he said, "And about that boy," and he was basically talking about the toxic relationship I was in with my twin flame, and I was like, "Oh gosh, he's watching." Ooh. So it
Hang
was
on, we're
like,
trying to help.
great. How amazing, and to hear that and all of this. I hadn't, seen this man since I was a really young child. So it was amazing, but like, oh, he's watching all of that, all my mistakes.
Yeah,
Oh no.
I know. I know.
It was, yeah.
Fascinating though,
It's
isn't
it
it?
is it is the double, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that was in the
94, so
90s,
how
and then it started again in
yeah,
2012. That's when it really came through. When
which
the
was a big
children who
year.
I had, the children had grown.
Mm.
I'd gone into, I'd left the corporate
Was it
world. I was
cosmically, it
working
was a
as,
big year as well?
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Mm.
I'd gone into the corporate, I'd left the corporate world and I was working for myself as a freelance PA. And I kept being put in front of some amazing women who were spiritual. And they tried me with the first one and I didn't understand what she was talking about. I liked working for her and it fascinated me. First time I saw a channel, I was like, whoa, this is incredible. I loved it.
The
It was so
universe is just
special.
going, "Hello."
Yeah. And then they put me in front of another one who was really out there and very woo, really
Yeah.
woo. She was lovely to work for, but she used to channel all the time. And I was like, she's away with the fairies. I don't know. And then they put me in front of a really down to earth woman who very much like
Yeah.
me. And it was like, she said, have you
Mm.
worked with angels? And I said, no. Well, come on my course. And it was then everything started to open up and you could almost see them going, yes, long last.
Yeah. The little chorus, "She's finally." Oh.
And it went from
I
there.
got that. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And so how about with obviously your daughter's a shaman. So so did you know? Could you see it in her or no? Because you didn't awaken. So were there
No,
signs in her that she was spiritual?
what happened was I used to run little workshops at home and people used to come and do angel
Yeah.
workshops with me. And I used to get the two
Yeah.
girls, and my son's aware as well. So I've got two
Yeah.
daughters, and Nicholas. And Nick was a bit more, no, that's not for me. But he's becoming more and more aware now. But my two
Yeah.
girls, I used to get them to come on the workshops, and they were brilliant. And Kat, the
Yeah.
shaman, who's a shaman now, she was like, she got it. She was on fire, and everybody, if we paired up, everybody wanted to pair up with Kat because she was so good at
Yeah.
everything. And I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. And I would like to say I set those two off on their spiritual journey because both of them have gone on to do some great work. And
Yeah.
both of them are so connected, incredibly so. And as I say, Nicholas is now, since Nicholas's dad died, the kid's dad died, which was 2018, Nick's become much more aware as well. And he sees,
Yeah.
he messages us and says, this has just
Amazing.
happened. I've just been thinking of this and this has just happened. Yes, son, you've got
Yeah.
the gift as well.
I find it really lovely. My friend Mark Lundgren, his wife's open and his two children are, and he's seen it from such a young age that they are. And it's so lovely because he hasn't quite logicked it away. In fact, he is very aware that his own clair gifts have opened because
Yeah,
he's watched and he's seen and he's just, been open-minded to it. And it's so
yeah.
lovely.
It
I
is.
mean,
It
we
is,
now have
isn't
the
it?
most amazing conversations as well, which just is so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's great, isn't it? And we're open.
Yeah.
We come in open,
Yeah.
and I just hopefully, well, they are. They're
The
doing their
schooling
work, and both,
system.
all
I
of them
mean,
are.
even without the horrific schooling and the bullying that you had at school, we're shut down at school. We're shut down by parents usually, but we're also shut down at school
Yeah,
because everything's meant to be logical and proven and visible and scientific and, head down, not the other way.
yeah,
So, which is a
yeah.
shame.
It's sad, isn't it? I'm seeing it still happen where teachers are so. One of my friends, a little girl, very, very open, and she used to draw pictures, and she used to draw pictures of people, and then put their auras around them, and she called them their colours. Their magic, that was it, their magic. And my
They're
friends said,
magic.
"Oh, I don't know why she does this." I said, "She's seen their auras." Oh. And then the teacher said she shouldn't be doing that. That's not right. And then she'd draw birds and they were like be brightly coloured birds. And the teacher would say, no, birds are brown. No, they're not. Parrots are all manner
Not
of
in
colours.
Australia, they're not.
Why are you being like that with children? Why are you saying? You're
Mm,
closing their imagination down for one thing,
yeah,
closing their
the
gifts
damage of
down.
those words.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
one drop one word and it's yeah. Mine's always been that as well. I remember the whole like bra shopping. They don't come that small was the comment I got. Like that, and that's you shut down. You become. It's amazing how those single words.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it a shame? I think it's going to change though. I really
It
do. I
is
think more people are
changing. It's
far more
changing.
aware.
It's changing now. My Rachel and Amanda, my Rachel's partner, Amanda's doing a lot around children and how to parent with openness and how to
Mm,
identify the kids' skills. And it's just wonderful to watch them do
yeah,
it. You know, to keep those girls
yeah.
still open and mindful about what words you use when you're parenting as well. Because
Mm.
I look back how I did it. I'm thinking, good God, no wonder. I'm surprised all three of them have come out quite level, but they have.
Surprised they're talking to me.
Yeah, well, they are.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, look, there is no parenting manual. I mean, we know that, don't we? So would you what's the difference in how you feel now when you go from that person that had the festering wound that you were totally ignoring it to, okay, you've amazingly done this yourself. I think a lot of people need actual help, whether
Yeah,
it's
they
with a
do.
spiritualist like yourself or a professional in the
Yeah,
like the therapy, because we put up our own defenses, so it really
yeah,
just
we do.
depends. But the switch now you've done that, how do you feel? How does life feel
Much
compared to
happier,
before?
open, less heavy, certainly less heavy, more connected. I'm at peace. And I never ever thought I'd
Mm,
say I was at peace. And I thought a few
yeah.
months ago, why am I what is it? And I got, you're at peace. And I thought, oh my God, I am at peace.
Is that what that feels like?
But
Yeah.
from peace and love, you can still grow, right? You can still bring some wonderful
Yeah,
things into
yeah.
your life. It's a wonderful platform to bounce off
Mhm.
rather than despair, where I was back in 2015 when I was like, it felt like I was in a well and all I could see was a pinpoint of light. And that was what it
Yeah.
felt like in my postnatal depression as well. Like, oh my God, I'm dying. And all I
Mm.
could see was a tiny little light at the top. And that was what I aimed for. But when you're on this platform of peace and love, and I am, and I do love myself, and I never thought I'd be able to say that either,
I
you know.
Me neither.
I know, but
Mm.
isn't it wonderful to be able to say, and not mean it in an egotistical way, but I
No,
love
no, no.
myself. I
Mm.
just do.
It's
And
I mean, it's really different because actually, I'm going back to my that dog walker for a second. One of the things she said is that first she victim blamed, so it's Banjo that was the problem. Every dog in here has always a clue. And then she said, "Nobody likes you. You're a
to
horrible
you,
human." And to me, which really, really amused me. But it wouldn't have. So when I was full of self-hate, I would have been so upset by that. Whereas actually now I'm like, no, you dislike me, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that because I like me and I'm a lovely human being. And it was
yeah,
like that ability to be able to step out of it. It is funny. It's funny what you say. People think, is it egotistical? No, it's not. It's just this acceptance that some people like you and some people don't. As long as you love you, that's all that matters.
yeah.
And then
You know,
it
there's
is
people that you
peaceful.
don't like. There's people that I don't like. We're humans.
Totally.
We're having this
Totally.
adventure in a human body. We're not going to like everybody,
No.
are we? But
No, which is fine. But
yeah,
that difference in the how I react to that personal insult. I was reacting to her behavior because I was fearful for my dog. I
yeah,
wasn't reacting to the comment, which was just like, "Oh, you don't like yourself. Oh, you poor thing." It's like it's very different. But it is. People say, don't they? They let you know in their words in
yeah,
that kind of a thing.
yeah.
It's yeah, and it's
I,
funny when you say the piece. I was thinking a lot of people because I particularly at the moment I'm writing my second business book, and I spent a lot of time on my own, but I'm so happy. I'm just at peace, and it's
yeah,
like, and others could look at that. There's also that weird thing where others kind of look at you at peace and feel a bit threatened by it. It's kind of
yeah.
weird, isn't it? Because
Or
it's
she
like
must
I'm
be
fine.
bored. Oh, really? You must be bored.
No,
No, I'm
not
the
with this inner
happiest I've ever
dialogue.
been.
With our inner dialogue, you couldn't possibly be.
Just cut me some
we
slack for 5 minutes, will you? Chappa, chappa,
We've
chappa, chappa.
got a lot of people a lot of stuff around us. You just can't see it.
Oh God. It's a
I always think that
fascinating
as
journey though,
well.
Katrina, isn't it? It's that I love it. I
Yeah,
love this journey. I really
yeah.
do.
And what's it like helping really quickly? Because as usual, I run
We've
over.
run over time as
What
usual.
what's it like helping others as well? Is it quite amazing now that you come at everything from that love and that spirituality? It must be
I
quite
love it.
something watching
I love
others.
it. I love
Yeah.
seeing people transform. And yes, it can take time. We know it
Mm,
can take time, and we also know we can slip back sometimes. But when we've got the tools, we know we can pull ourselves back out
mm,
again. It's lovely to see
mm.
people come and not believe in themselves, have the weight of the world on their shoulders, maybe relationships falling apart, whatever, and then over time grow to love who they are and start to
Yeah.
honour who they are and start to put themselves first. But obviously, it just doesn't happen like that. You've got to release. You've got to clear out what we talked
Yeah.
about before, mucking out the wound. But
Yeah.
then you just see them grow, and you see them
Mm.
even talking differently than they were before. Less of the self-criticism,
Yeah.
less of the self-hatred, more of the love. Yeah, the love of yourself takes a bit of work, doesn't it? But once you can, you just don't go
Yeah.
back, because if you know
I
how it
think that
feels.
I always say that inner child work was key. And I know you and I did some inner child work,
Yeah.
which was just amazing. I remember in one of the meditations when she handed me, I talk about this in the memoir, she just like handed me a key and she's like sticking it in my heart and she's trying to turn it to get me to unlock my heart. And it was like, yeah, good luck, love.
Didn't
But
you
we
get
did get
given
it
some
open.
oil? You got given some oil, didn't you? Or was that?
Yeah, yeah. It was Goddess Isis ended up handing me my heart. That's how we ended up opening it. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah,
Yes.
it was huge. It was like, oh look, we give up. You're not going to do it yourself. Here you go. But it was there. That was that real, yeah, that self love moment, which is yeah.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't think that we're both batshit crazy after they've listened to this, um, they just
You
might.
might not broadcast
Um,
this one.
totally broadcasting this one. Because this is where I found that self mastery and that peace, and my gifts. Oh my gosh, my gifts, as you know, are just
Yeah,
extraordinary, and I had no
I
idea.
know. I
To me, I'm
know.
just like you said, I'm just really down to earth and normal. So it's like, what do you mean I can do all of this as well? So yeah.
Yeah.
But if
Mm.
they would like to talk to you, have a session, some of the amazing things you do, your website,
Well, you can
where's the
follow me
best
on
place to reach?
Instagram, Isobel Gatherer on Instagram, and I've
Yes.
set my YouTube channel back up
Oh yes,
again.
I've been watching those.
I'm putting stuff on my YouTube channel. And again, Isobel Gatherer. And I'm also the website www.isobelgatherer.com. And if you want to read it, you can book
Yes.
the session in from there as well. Or you can drop me a
Yeah.
message at Isobel@isobelgatherer.com. That's how you get in touch. Usually start off with a reading, so a spiritual
Yeah, I
guidance
recommend a reading.
reading. Yeah, that's how we
Yeah,
started.
you just gave Sophie Power a reading and she's like, "Pong." She was one of my first guests on the podcast as well. She keeps going, "Oh my god, she just knew all this stuff." I'm going, "Yeah." I told you that. So thank you for that. Anyway, thank you so much. And I think really, really inspirational for anybody who's had that kind of trauma from school, where we often don't talk about how much of an impact that is as well. We
Yeah,
often talk about parental and less so, or sibling and
yeah.
less so about that. So thank you for sharing that story
You're welcome.
as
You're
well.
welcome. But we get through it. And we come out the other side, and like you say, the healing's really important. So
Must
it
be
will
done.
it will help to transform you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Damage of Words. How brave, how vulnerable, all to inspire listeners like you to take a step or inspire others to take a step. Imagine what healing we could create if we normalize this conversation. So please pass this on and, of course, subscribe so we can do just that. Until next time, thank you.